Hey guys, Tyler here. I'm back again to talk about growing in intimacy with Jesus. I want to talk today about the relationship that exists between our intimate life with God, our personal relationship with the Lord, and what happens in the outworking and circumstances of our life because I see and I believe that there is a direct correlation between our the reality of our personal connection and intimacy with Jesus and how things work out for us in our outward lives, or whether they work out, whether God's destiny for us is realized in the rest of our lives, our outward life, right? So I want to begin by talking about the Israelites because the Old Testament is a physical picture, almost like an illustration of many of the inward realities, the spiritual realities that we live in the New Testament covenant. So we can look at their story, and it's like they were living out uh, a diorama or a picture book of what we live in our inward reality with the Lord. Um, so the Israelites, the Lord desired for the whole nation of Israel to be a royal priesthood and a holy nation. So, the way things worked out in the end was that only Moses and the priests, really, Moses was the one that had a friendship with God where he would meet with him and talk with him. And the priests would come into the Lord's presence and minister before the Lord, but not really relationally, more institutionally or ceremonially. They were a picture of coming into the presence of God, but that's not how the Lord wanted it to be. Very clearly, the Lord says in Exodus 19 that He desires the whole nation of Israel to be in that kind of priestly relationship with the Lord. They were meant to be a whole nation that walked with God, talked with God, knew God the way that Moses did, and then they were meant to reveal God to the rest of the world, all the other nations of the world. That was God's plan, and it's very clear in Exodus 19 when He first gives the people the Ten Commandments, like sort of instructs them how life should go and how they should live in a way that's right towards each other. I always thought that God spoke that to Moses to give to the people, but that's not how it went. The second time he got the Ten Commandments, he spoke it directly. He wrote it down directly for Moses. But the first time, what he did was he actually brought the whole nation of Israel to the mountain of God and spoke audibly to the whole nation the Ten Commandments. And he desired for that to be the way that he communicated it with his people. But the people were like, we can't handle this. It's too intense. Like, God is a consuming fire. We don't want to talk with him directly. So, Moses, you go and talk with the Lord, and we'll do whatever he says, right? And so the people were the ones that created this system of like having an intermediary between them and God, but that's not how God wanted it. Now, what was the outworking of that? This is so interesting because it so speaks to our lives and how the Lord wants things to go with us. So it says in Psalm 103 that the Lord revealed his character to Moses, but he revealed his deeds to the people. So, in other words, the people, because they refused to walk in personal intimacy with the Lord, they saw what God did, but they did not get to know him and his character. So they didn't, because if you don't know who someone is on the inside, you don't learn their motivations for what they do. So you see the things that they do, but you don't know why they're doing it. You don't know the heart that is behind the person's actions, right? So what was the outworking of that? Well, what happened in the first generation of Israelites is that because they did not know God's heart and they did not learn to trust God's heart and the goodness of his intention towards them, when it came time for them to do something really challenging, to take the promised land, to go to war with evil people and receive the good and amazing inheritance that God has for them, because it was hard and the challenge was great. The people were strong, they were big, they were large nations, they had fortified cities. Because the people had not come to know the Lord and trust his heart towards them, they said, and it's not just like I'm assuming this, they said, you have clearly, Moses, you and the Lord have clearly led us out into this wilderness to die, right? Like the nations you are calling us to go to war with are too great for us. We will die in the process. God hates us. And we wish we could go back to Egypt, where even though we were slaves, at least we knew we'd have food and we wouldn't just be killed in war, right? So they distrusted the Lord and they did not know, first of all, why his motivation in calling them to war, and they did not see, because they didn't see him and his greatness and his glory. They did not see that he would be able to give them victory. So, um, what a revelation of the relationship between our intimate life with God and the fruit and the outworking that has in our lives. I mean, what does that mean for our lives? I think there's a clear correlation that um, if we do not learn to live an intimate life where we are meeting with the Lord and knowing the Lord, and his character and his strength and his ability to do great things beyond what we're able to do ourselves. And if we don't come to trust him in that secret place, that intimate place, then when it comes time for us to step into our destiny and take the ground that God has prepared for us, because it is greater than anything we can accomplish or lay hold of through our own strength, when we uh, it comes time to step into that challenge and face those giants and those, whatever that opposition is, we will shrink back from the challenge because it can only be achieved through relationship with the Lord. He will call us a certain way, and that way will work, but it will take our trusting Him. And if that trust has not been forged and formed in the place of relationship, where we're discovering his goodness and his heart towards us and his ability to get us there, then we're not going to be able to face the challenges that oppose that inheritance when the time comes. So um, I say all that to say, guys, that one of the reasons, I mean, it's not because we want the inheritance that we take the time to grow, take the time to be with the Lord and learn to know Him and to love Him. But one of the fruits and the outworkings of taking the time to do that is in the place of pressure, in the place of opposition in this world. We have the grace built into us through that relationship and that room that the Lord has in our hearts in order to stand the test and overcome. So I just think that's an amazing reality. And one more thing that I wanted to say about that is I want to talk just from personal experience about what happens in that secret place of prayer. I said in Psalm 103 how Moses not only knew the deeds of the Lord, what he did for the people, but in that place where he was meeting with the Lord and becoming friends with God, uh, he discovered the character of the Lord. Another thing that Moses said in the end of Deuteronomy 29, when he's charging the people, he's reaffirming the covenant that they have with God. And he's telling them, like, here's what's going to happen if you do what the Lord's calling you to. Here's what's going to happen if you don't, right? And he's charging them to go the Lord's way and choose life. He says that the secret things belong to the Lord. So the things that are not yet revealed, only the Lord knows. But the revealed things belong to us. Now, that is really interesting because that is an Old Testament perspective. It comes from the reality back then that because God was out here and they were talking, even if they were talking to him, they only knew what he told them. But that is not a New Testament reality, right? And I've been talking about this on the channel. In First Corinthians chapter 2, it talks about how no one knows the mind of someone except the spirit inside of that person, right? But we are not those who stand outside of the Lord. We have the mind of Christ because we are in the spirit of the Lord, right? So, one of the things that happens, guys, when we draw near to the Lord, when we turn to Him and spend time seeking Him and learning to abide in Jesus, is that the hidden things are revealed to us. And one of the amazing realities and outworkings of growing in intimacy with the Lord and spending that time is that we no longer have to live simply in what is already revealed, what is already materialized, what has been manifested in this world. What are the physical realities? And one of the problems that the Israelites had because they didn't know the Lord and his character and they didn't have an intimate relationship with him is they saw the realities that already were in the promised land. They saw the giants, they saw the fortified cities, they saw the strength of the people there, and they did not see the hidden things. Where are the hidden things? The things that are not yet and yet will be. They are in the mind of God. See, the things that are not yet revealed are only known to the Lord, but the things that will be, right? And the problem that we have if we're not in the Lord is we don't have access to the promises, the hidden realities, the things that He is intending but have not yet been manifested. And if we will learn to abide in the Spirit, then we have access to those hidden things. And the amazing thing about relationship with God is it's not like if you are in a relationship with the Lord that all those things are suddenly magically revealed. You don't know them all at once because God is not looking for you to have all the answers. See, because we're used to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we want to know what the reality is, right? We want to be able to control things by knowing everything, but God's not looking for that. He's looking for relationship with us. And so what does he do? He reveals one step at a time. When Joshua, with the second generation, was ready to step into that promised land, confront the giants, take down the fortified cities, and take that land of inheritance, the Lord revealed to them one step at a time. You know, first he said, I want you to step into the flooding Jordan River, which was insanity. Like they would definitely drown if they just stepped into that flooding river. But that step of faith, when they stepped into the river with the covenant of God's presence, the ark, the river stopped flowing. And interestingly, it stopped flowing at the town called Adam, which is just crazy, right? And and they were able to walk through on dry ground. But he didn't even tell them at that point how they were going to take the first city that was right in front of them, Jericho. And then once they got to the city, then the Lord gave them the strategy for taking that city. But every people that they had to face, the strategy was different. And so God doesn't reveal all the mysteries, all the hidden things at once. And so I'm not trying to lead you on that if you just come into a relationship with God, suddenly you'll have all the answers and all the secrets that you need for every step of your life. But in that relationship, in that place of trust and knowing Him, When you come to know him, you will see his goodness and you will realize that you can trust his character enough that when the next step is revealed that is necessary to achieve your inheritance, to become who God made you to be, he will tell you what the step is, and it will seem crazy to you. It will step into a flooding river. That is madness. Will be swept away and drowned. But because you will know him and you will have grown in that place of relationship to trust him in the face of the things that are revealed that seem impossible, I know you're greater than those things. You will be able to take that next step. And it's so interesting. I had a friend yesterday, a Christian friend, sort of a mentor of mine that's pretty awesome. He said to me, Tyler, um, the way that I have grown most in intimacy with God over my years of walking with Him, which is many more than me, is he said, it's through the ways that I have obeyed what He has called me to, that I have grown to trust Him more and grown in depth of relationship. And isn't that so obvious? You know, how do you learn to trust someone more? Well, they try and give you a gift, and if you receive it and open it up and use it, you will, oh, this was a good gift. This person was giving me something in earnest. They were trying to bless me. So I think I can trust them in the next gift they're going to give me, right? I often say to people that I'm mentoring, um, if you want to if I wanted to become a bodybuilder, just reading a book about bodybuilding wouldn't get me anywhere. I have to put into practice what the book teaches. I need to try it out. And it's not always easy, right? Lifting weights is burdensome, right? It's like, oh, this doesn't feel good. But once I've done it, once I've put into practice what I was taught, oh, the fruit is good. Like I grow stronger, and I like the way I feel, the way I look, blah blah blah. So that is such a reality in our life with God. When we come to know His character, we realize we can trust Him, and then He calls us to do things differently than we would choose to do in our own natural life of wanting to be protected and want to be in control and wanting to be comfortable. He calls us beyond our comfort zone. And when we step out trusting who we know Him to be, He comes through. The breakthrough comes. Things become better than they were before. And we grow in the ability to trust Him more for the next bigger step. What an amazing thing. But it all begins, guys, through taking the time of drawing near to an invisible Father and learning to taste and see that He is good for ourselves, not taking someone else's word for it, not going on the assumptions of what our fallen mind that operates out of what is already manifested in our world and the circumstances that we see that are the fruit of other people's choices that have come before us and maybe our own fallen choices. Yeah, the steps before us are clear. We have to humble ourselves. We have to draw near to Jesus. We need to open ourselves up to the light and the beauty of who He is. We need to allow Him to speak to our hearts and learn to trust in what we hear, so much so that we step out in faith in what He's calling us to. So I hope that encourages you guys. I hope that is a blessing to you. I hope that we can do this again soon. Guys, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, I'd love it if you would email me at fatheringwiththefather@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in one-on-one conversations, mentoring, or counseling, you can go to the website, www.fatheringwiththefather.org. Uh, God bless you guys. I pray that these videos are a blessing, and I look forward to more soon. So long.